Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to show you that our applications are usually more vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks than what we like to think or even admit. Regardless of storing your authentication tokens inside local storage or cookies with HTTP only and secure, both of those scenarios will be vulnerable to the attacks. The first example I'm going to show you, you probably already saw that example online, but honestly I think that example creates a false sense of security in people. That's the reason I want to show it to you again. The second example is a much more relatable experience because it's something we do on a day-to-day basis as developers, and that simple act might make our companies and our applications at risk. But don't worry, I will show you how you can fix that at the end of the video. Now, on my screen, you can already see my first example, where I'm creating, let's say, the new eBay. I will create a product, then eBay will save that product on the database, and every user that will see that product will receive that product from the database. So I will just start by creating a description for my product, and I will say best product ever. Now eBay, without doing any sanitization, will save onto the database and send it to my users when they see my product. At this moment, because it's just an H1, is not a big deal, right? But let's say I am mean and I create, for example, an image with a source that doesn't exist anywhere, so this will fail, and everything that is inside this on error will run. At this moment, as you can see, I only have that console log over there, so it's not a big deal to just do a console log. But let's say I was doing a fetch from there to an attacker's server. That attacker will now have everything I have in local storage. If you are storing your tokens inside local storage, now the attacker can impersonate your users for the longevity of that token. If the token is still valid for another hour, the attacker can impersonate that user for 1 hour. That's the main reason usually people try to put tokens with a short lifespan. That's one of the reasons, right? Now, you might be asking, but why don't you like that example, Bruno? It's quite nice. Well, the reason I don't like it is because when then people show the code for that example, they will show you this code that I have over here on the screen. And that code will have this dangerously set inner HTML. This is React, but the same thing applies in Angular, Vue, Svelte, or any other front-end framework, right? And when you do that, especially more junior people will look into that and say, hey, I will never use that method, so I should be pretty safe. I can go away from this video or whatever tutorials they are doing, and this is where the false sense of security happens. I do a lot of interviews, and usually people think that the only source of a cross-site script attack is this dangerously set inner HTML. And today, to combat that a little bit, I will show you another source of cross-site scripting attacks. Let's open this file over here, and this file is just, let's say, a banking account where you want to transfer money from bank accounts, okay? Now, I'm just using next.js to have authentication, and if the user is authenticated, we will allow the user to see this transfer money component. So let me just open that component, and this component is very short, and you might look into this component and think, hey, this is very relatable. I do something similar to this, probably using Formic or other form library, but I do something very similar to this on a daily basis. Am I at risk, Bruno? Well, not because of the form itself. The problem over here will be if I scroll to the top where I'm importing this dropdown from. And at the moment, you will see that I created a package on purpose to be a cross-site scripting attack. But what if, instead of calling that very ugly name, I called it Material UI dropdown or Tailwind CSS dropdown or Bootstrap dropdown? Probably a lot of you will install that as long as the documentation is pretty and we have a lot of downloads. If you are asking about the downloads, I can also show you the downloads over here. So if I refresh this is our package, right? And I already have 2,600 downloads in the last week. I just run this script for like an hour and I got those many downloads. So if I run that script that I created for 2 or 3 days, probably I can have like 100 or 200,000 downloads. So if you are just looking into the downloads to make your decisions about packages, think twice about that, okay? I did that mistake in the past as well, so no blame here at all. If you are also relying on tools like npm audit, you can run npm audit on top of my package, and my package will still be flagged as something positive. There is nothing there to be flagged. And now let me just show you what this package does in reality. Over here now on the screen on the left side, we have the banking application front end. On the middle of the screen, we have the banking application back end. And on the right side, we have the server from the attacker. So if I come over here now and I log in into my application, I will just put the username as Bruno, the password is 1234 in case you want to test it yourself. And now let me just show the console over here, and I will do a transaction to my girlfriend Monica. So I will just do Monica 1234. So I'm sending £1,000 to Monica. And now when I click OK, you can see on our backend, Monica received $1,200. That's very good. Our application is working, but our malicious package did nothing yet. So nothing is printed yet on our attacker and nothing is going to our backend yet. So the attacker did nothing yet. And you can see that I have the developer tools open. The second I will close the developer tools, we will count around 5 to 6 seconds. And you will see that after that moment, our malicious backend, so the attacker's backend, started already to receive our local storage altogether. So if you are storing your JWT tokens, my package is smart enough to only send those if you close the developer tools. And at the same time, you can see here that we already send the transaction to Monica. If I refresh this and I wait around those 5 or 6 seconds, a transaction to my backend already happened. You see? Now, my backend is receiving a transaction, and because the user is already authenticated, so this browser on the left, every 5 seconds is sending a new transaction of £10,000 to the attacker's bank account. And so if you open the developer tools again, you will see that will stop. So after this moment, the backend from the attacker will not receive anything new, and our backend will not receive any more calls. So if you just want here to open now the network tab, nothing's there in the network tab. You will not be able to figure it out just by using this. So how can you protect yourself? Because now you might be scared because you look into this, you see that you can install any dangerous package over there on the internet and you don't know how to fix it, right? So I will show you something that will fix the first problem of sending the local storage to the attacker server, and then we will fix our server, okay? So let me present you first with content security policy. And this is something that you can send in the headers when you serve your web application to the clients. You can serve as a header, or you can put as a meta tag. In my repository, you can find both examples, okay? So if you want to go there, you find both examples. And so how does it work? Basically, if you come into your headers and you add this header, what this means is no HTTP call can be performed outside of your domain. Let's say that you are in the domain of myapplication.com. If someone tries to do an HTTP call to otherapplication.com, or to get some CSS from the outside, or to get some JavaScript from the outside, it will be immediately blocked by this content security policy. Now, you can go much deeper in terms of this content security policy. The example I will show you will be exactly like that one, but you can go much deeper. You can start to say, okay, I accept myself, okay, and I also accept a domain called trusted and all the subdomains of trusted.com. Then you can start to go much deeper. You can start to say, oh, for example, to images, or sources or scripts, I accept from this domain. So imagine that your images are, for example, in Cloudinary, and you have your URL to Cloudinary, you can put that for the image sources. You can say that the scripts are coming from another CDN. You can put there. So if someone tries to run something to other servers, they will get blocked. Let me show you that thing happening over here. So over here, I will click on the meta example, but the headers will also work if you prefer to use the headers. And now I will just come over here, and just to make sure that everything is working, I will send a transfer for my brother, and I will send him, for example, $500. I will click on transfer, and my brother will receive the transfer of $500. In a few seconds, because those 5 seconds will start to be elapsed, my attacker are still sending those $10,000 to his bank account. And once again, every 10 seconds, but you can see that on the right side, my attacker can no longer receive anything. So if you try to now do a call to another service, right? Let me just open the developer tools over here. And if I try to do a call to another server, you can see that those calls that the attacker is performing now, they are being logged as errors. And you can see refuse to connect to dead endpoint over there because it violates the document content security policy, which is amazing for us. So we are blocking part of the problem, and you can even go deeper in that blockage because you have something called the report URI, which means that every time that this content security policy is violated, you can now receive that into your logs. You can save it in your database, or you can save it somewhere like Google Analytics and verify from time to time those logs to make sure that nobody is trying to go over your content security policy. So this report URI, I will recommend that you have a look. I will leave this page also on the video description, and have a look into that because it can help quite a lot, trust me. Now, the last thing is for us to fix the $10,000 that are happening. And the way you can use to fix those is to use what is called as an OTC or an OTP. Different people will call it different things, but it means one-time code or one-time password. If you ever used your banking account and transferred money via the browser, your bank sends a message to your mobile phone, and that is a one-time code. So you use that code to validate your transaction, even if the attacker is trying to do the transaction in your name because it's authenticated as you. The attacker needs your mobile phone. If the attacker doesn't have your mobile phone, the attacker can't do anything, right? So you need to always have in mind that your application, regardless of what you are doing, if you have a good content security policy or not, these OTPs or OTCs, whatever you want to call them, they are very important in stuff that you can't roll back. For example, a transfer of money is something that is very, very hard to roll back. So you need to be aware of those things. If it's something that you can roll back very easily, for example, if you have a product that someone deletes, but for you in your database is just a soft delete, probably you don't need those OTCs and OTPs, because if the user complains, you can just go there and revert the boolean, right? So in those type of cases, it's not that important. If you find that this video was important and you learned something and you want to make the web a little bit more safe for us all, feel free to share this video with your friends. Click on the like button so it reaches more people here on YouTube. And if you find something that I missed or you want to recommend, feel free to put in the comments. And if it's something important, I will pin the comment over there for everybody to see that comment. And I really hope to see you in the next video. I hope you have an amazing week, and I see you very, very soon. Bye bye.